potential spoilers for a lot of things. I'm just gonna flash the logos on screen and hope you can read them all. Also, if I got any of the facts wrong in this video, I'm not an expert. I'm sorry. Okay, enjoy. Alright, it's official. I got nothing.
We already know that. You only upload once a year.
Oh, you look different. Oh, I look different too. Curse this wicked animated existence we call life.
Well, since I'm lost on what that is all about, anyone have any ideas?
Well, as long as these appearances don't kill us, I, for one, am happy to make—
No!
Alright, fine. I guess burning down a studio is not a acceptable creative choice.
Why are you confused? You already said you do best animated panic attacks and most hideous cartoon characters.
I never...
Those ideas are messed up, Liam.
I didn't suggest those, you just made it up.
Why would you suggest that?
Well, okay then, I guess we can...
Have you tried not making a video?
Well, that's the best idea I've heard yet, so I'll take it. No more videos. Oh crap, that actually gives me a fun idea. Series finales!
That's not fun!
Have you ever seen a TV show? Now, was that TV show a news show, a soap opera, or a network staple? No? Well, guess what? That means it has a finale! I'm motor enthusiast, it's Liam, and whether intended or not, every show has a finale eventually. That's just the way of the world, and today I want to talk about some of them.
What do you mean?
The animated ones, of course.
Oh, okay then.
Now, obviously, while talking about finales, it's kind of hard to talk about them in any sort of order. Like, Amphibia had an action-packed emotional send-off, and Uncle Grandpa ended with Vol. So, while yes, both depressing, do they really fit under the same category? I think the only way to classify these is based on their productions themselves, and the reasons they ended in the first place.
But how will you ever decide which category to talk about first?
Yeah, that's a good question that I already have a solution to! Ladies, gentlemen, cats, Easons, and everyone else, introducing the Wheel of Fun.
What is... Huh?
Didn't you hear? It's fun! Enjoy it!
If we start by putting the categories on here, we can spin to choose what to talk about first. The wheel always knows best, don't you, Mr. Wheel?
Okay, are we sure he's all mentally there, or...
Alright, first on the agenda... I want to start this section with one simple image. Ah! Oh, sorry, that one is terrifying. Yeah, if one company is infamous for early cancellations, it has to be Nickelodeon. Plenty of people point this towards the network having way too high standards. If a show isn't the new SpongeBob when it premieres, it's almost instantly out. But, let's be fair for a second, they were somewhat doing this before the Bob as well. A ton of the classic Nicktoons followed the 52 episode rule, similar to Disney's 65 episode rule, but different. Because it took until Rugrats pulled a few Rugrats for them to change their minds on that one. And then the Bob became the standard. But I also know the Nickelodeon fandom on Twitter would disagree with this assessment, pointing out that since so many people don't give new shows a chance because of the network's track record, it's their fault they end so early. It's 2024, why are we victim blaming here? Still, even within Nickelodeon, we can still get some pretty good finales with these standards, even if by coincidence. Harvey Beaks and Rise of the TMNT sort of got endings, probably not the intended ones, but they happened. But then there were cases that are just confusing, like, huh? How after 10 seasons did the Fairly Odd Parents not get any sort of conclusion? I get it had an on-off relationship with the network, and it seemingly is always coming back, but you'd think the second they got told they were animating in Flash this time around, they would have seen the signs. Then there were the shows that on other networks that suddenly ended, like Milo Murphy's Law over on Disney. Milo was the second show from Phineas and Ferb creators Dan Paul and my own Jeff Swampy Marsh, and it really loved to remind you of that. Yeah, starting with the second season, Phineas and Ferb characters became main characters in the show, particularly Doof and Perry, and I feel it really retracts from the show's own identity to the point where it had no reason to be its own thing. Well, the season 2 finale serves to wrap up that season's storyline. The show still had a few loose ends that went unresolved as the show went on a permanent hold as Disney said, "We want more Phineas." Nah, something new. Never mind, more Phineas. And in the age of streaming, man, getting even 2 seasons feels lucky nowadays. In the modern day, the one that hit me the hardest has to be Dead End Paranormal Polk on Netflix. During its 2 short seasons, it was a show that constantly made me say, oh damn, you can do that in a kid's show? Not in a bad way. I think it's actually really impressive how much representation the show jammed in and how naturally it worked as main plotlines at points. But when you add on its themes about demons and angels, I'm just shocked it made it as far as it did with so little noise. Still, I wouldn't doubt if those elements sealed its fate, as after 2 seasons and a cliffhanger that made me cry, Dead End was cancelled at Netflix alongside a lot of other animated projects. It was a massacre. Thankfully, it's based on a graphic novel, and the final entry of those books is still set to release this year, but it's still mighty unfortunate. But do you want to know what cancellation hit me the hardest? Do you? Do you? Do you, David, you stupid Infinity Train, Anthology series, really freaking cool, exactly. Anyways, the show was gearing up for book 5 to be the biggest season yet, mainly because it was not a season, it was a movie detailing the backstory of one of the series' most interesting characters. It was meant to be deep and dark though, so season 4, which came after, was written to be a break season, to prepare audiences for the intense film. It was never made and the series was cancelled. No child entry point, what does that even mean? You make adult shows! And this is on streaming! Yeah, well, I do enjoy book 4 a fair bit, and the show's anthology style makes it technically end with no loose ends. It being a lighter season and, well, not being an ending made it feel out of place with the rest of the show. Still, I think, somehow, the final episode's title, The Train to Nowhere, is one of the most fitting finale titles possible for the show, intentional or not. But the show was pulled from HBO Max, so I guess you'll never know. I can go on and on about how many shows we have suddenly end every year, but I think it's time we move on. So next up, we got... I think we should go with something else first.
What happened to
The Wheel Knows Best? I'm still listening to it, I'm just spinning it again because I think that would have been a better ending piece.
Whoa, so you're saying you're a liar?
No, it's just that, there we go! Okay, in retrospect, this one's a bit vague. Like, if they told a crew the day before the finale aired, does that really count as a warning? In my mind when writing it down, a warning is enough time to create some sort of finale to end the show on, such as a recent Disney example, The Owl House. The Owl House had everything going for it to become the next big Disney hit. Season 2 was in production before it began, the creator was a Gravity Falls alumni, it was filled with lore and representation, the 2 elements on the Venn diagram of story-based cartoons, and in the end, it sort of did. Just a bit too late. Before season 1 even got to its finale, or its best episode, the decision was made for the series to end. According to creator Dana Terrace, she was told it was because the show didn't fit the Disney brand. What is the Disney brand? Alright, let's see here. We got Mickey Mouse, royal assassination, cannibals, old men grieving their wives, and the Firebuds. What's the theme here? Thankfully though, they had enough time to rework the latter half of season 2 and even to convince the studio to give them a third season of 3-hour-long specials, but hey, a win's a win! So in the end, I think the Owl House ended on a pretty good note. Though there were definitely plot lines they had to drop or characters that went underused, those season 3 specials were some of my fondest memories watching the series, and ultimately, it ended on a satisfying note that almost left the door open for more. I'm still hoping we can see that one day. Ducktales is a less lucky case. As far as I can tell, no additional pickup, but they still had enough time to write a 90-minute long finale, The Last Adventure, and I'm mixed on it. Most of the time, DuckTales 2017 is amazing, but the finale feels like they wanted to wrap up the whole show, the season-specific arcs, and put in an idea they had for a potential force in one episode, and ultimately, it just feels like too much. Plus, there's a reveal in here that sort of undermines the show's whole message, and I'm honestly shocked they went along with it, especially considering how convoluted it is. It ultimately works fine enough, but I feel if they took some of this out, they could have ended even stronger. There's one other example I can think of from Disney, but I'm gonna save that for a special case later. Instead, I want to move over to the series that permanently ruined my social cred, Steven Universe.
We can tell.
Now what's that supposed to mean? Steven Universe was the show well airing, man. When it was on, it felt like the whole world stopped. Probably because that was a once every 6 months occasion, but still. However, despite its popularity online, the show was trying to push boundaries that seemed unmovable, with plenty of LGBTQ representation at a time when it was unusual, leading to plenty of backlash and pushback until the straw that broke the egg's back, Ruby and Sapphire's wedding.
I'm not my abdomen.
The network gave every excuse possible to series creator Rebecca Sugar, including some really stupid ones, until they eventually agreed but warned that if they went through with it, the international funding for the show might suddenly disappear. And what happened next will shock you. So to wrap it all up, Rebecca begged the network for a few additional episodes, which they agreed to, leading to the hour-long finale, Change Your Mind, which may be a fast-paced mess, but it's my fast-paced mess and I adore it all the same, alright? That James Baxter scene, chef's kiss. And so, that was the end of Steven Universe, an alright ending coming way too soon if the hiatuses didn't make it feel longer. Oh, wait a second. Yeah, so alongside those additional episodes, Rebecca requested a movie to additionally wrap everything up, but since the film was a time skip, and seemingly, Cartoon Network loves their movies promoting new content afterwards, they also picked up a 20-episode epilogue series titled Steven Universe Future. Alrighty then. Now, I get it. People hate Future. It poisoned your water supply, burned your crops, and delivered a plague upon your houses, but for me, and I must emphasize, for me, it mostly works. It's a lot, it gets dark, but I think as an exploration of mental health and trauma, especially on a kids network, it mostly works because it turns the comedy up so it's never too hopeless, and it slowly builds up to an eventual blow up, a stupid resolution, and then a pretty great finale to the franchise. Yeah, I can't defend I Am My Monster. I know it's rough, wraps up way too quickly, and shouldn't have been a single 11-minute episode. But I will defend The Future Was My Life for being a great franchise finale that ties everything together in a nice bow and allows Steven to finally move on and be his own person, which is thematically what the whole series was about. I like it. Actually, to be fair, Cartoon Network has had a really solid track record of giving those shows time to choose their endings. The Adventure Time crew got plenty of time to write their finale, even enough to wrap up other characters' arcs in episodes leading up to it. However, since Adventure Time is a behemoth of a show, they still had a lot to do, and I think it shows in the final product. Still a good episode, just not amazing or the perfect finale. They delivered that one 3 years later and are still going. How is that possible? Another CN show, OKKO, had its episode order cut in half during its third season, basically signaling its end, but they still got enough time to redevelop the season to wrap up the show's main story and deliver one of the most thought-provoking finales I've ever seen a silly show like this do. It only hits harder the further we get out from its airing, and that's both beautiful, terrifying, and cool. Even nowadays, in a world of mergers, streaming, and David, CN shows still manage to sometimes get finales. For example, Craig of the Creek. During production of Season 5, the crew was suddenly informed that this season would have 20 less episodes than initially picked up, basically telling them, yeah, you're done. So, after 2 quick mini-arcs and splitting this half season into 2, the final 4 episodes all serve to conclude the series. The first because it's the, oh, this is the only plotline we haven't concluded yet episode, which, yes, Craig of the Creek has overarching stories, try to keep up, and the final 3 all because they serve as explorations of the main trio, getting to their true hearts, unknown details about their lives, and for the finale, what they've done throughout the show. Yeah, See You Tomorrow at the Creek isn't really a traditional finale, because outside of one status quo change, this isn't really the end of everything. It's mainly just one last cozy outing letting us know that the kids will be okay, and for a series as comforting as this, I think that's pretty much perfect. And for Nickelodeon, do they do this? Let's just move on.
You didn't even spin it this time.
Doesn't matter, it's still fun. Aren't you having fun, Mr. Wheel? I'm having so much fun! Okay, how often does this even happen? So get this, what if Nickelodeon killed a show and then everyone told them they were stupid? That's where the revival comes in, typically a one-off season or movie to wrap up the things they couldn't do in the original. Take, for example, Hey Arnold. Absolute classic Nicktoon, man, just a vibe in every aspect. Arnold was a success for Nickelodeon, so like any animated series with at least 2 viewers in the early 2000s, they wanted a film. Or maybe 2? Yeah, creator Craig Bartlett was actually asked to develop 2 movies at once, one for television entitled Arnold Saves the Neighborhood, and the other for theaters, The Jungle Movie, which was a planned series finale for the show. And at first, production was going well, everything was moving along smoothly enough to even produce an hour-long special, The Journal, to lead into The Jungle Movie. However, with successful test screenings, a further-long production, and some successful Rugrats movies under their belt, Paramount wanted Arnold Saves the Neighborhood to go to theaters. So no time to waste, they handed them a few million, enough time to shade only 3 characters, and set a release date for June 2002. Oh yeah, this is gonna be great! Oh darn, who could have seen this coming? Yeah, this tanked the whole show's future. Well, Nickelodeon stretched out the final episodes for a few years. It finally came to an end on June 8th, 2004, with some random episodes, so really everyone considers the journal the ending. As far as I remember, it's been a few years since I've seen it. It's a good episode, but also it's just a lot of setup for something audiences would never end up seeing. Until 2015, the second movie caused SpongeBob massive hiatuses. They absolutely hated Harvey Beaks, and Game Shakers came and went, so Nickelodeon was feeling all nostalgic, trying to bring back old franchises in any way possible. So they decided, why not? And they made the Jungle Movie. It finally premiered Thanksgiving weekend 2017 on television. Funny how these two ended up switching. Overall, from what I remember, I think it's a good finale for the franchise, if only because it resolves everything they set up all those years ago. There are a few elements that feel too close to an animated film within the early 2000s, including a second act misunderstanding and one piece of CGI towards the climax, but I still find it neat. Now that wasn't it for Nick revival movies, because we got 2 more after Arnold. Rocko's Modern Life, Static Cling, and Invader Zim Enter the Flopus. Rocko was a victim of the early Nicktoon 52 episode treatment, and Zim is a video essay in itself, but both got picked up for revival films shortly before Arnold premiered. Though, because the Jungle Movie only did alright on cable, they were moved and dumped on Netflix in August 2019. I've never seen either of the OG shows, but I have seen the 2 movies, so to summarize my thoughts, a bit too short but sweet, way funnier than I thought it would be, though neither really feel like finales, more like fun returns to the franchise. Anyways, I still think in the animation world, the idea of revivals are rare due to a lot of these shows being aimed at children who grow up? Since when? So why not grow with the audience? Samurai Jack might just be one of the most impactful shows in the animated world. It turned Gendy Tartakovsky from a good cartoonist to an iconic one, and it even got one of the catchiest theme songs ever sung. Gotta get back to the past, Samurai Jack. He never did. As far as the stories go, this wasn't as much of a cancellation as it was a fade out, with the crew being moved on to other projects like Clone Wars. But Jack still needed an ending! So after many failed movie attempts, they decided to finally just make a new season, with a catch. Since the audience had already grown up by then and reruns were already on the network, why not Adult Swim? So in 2017, Samurai Jack returned on Adult Swim for adults in its final season. I have 2 things to say about this. 1. It's really funny how this forced them to always market the TVY7 episodes of the series as an Adult Swim show. Overused and unfunny joke! I've never seen it. I'll get to it, but being around while it was airing, it was really funny seeing how the reaction went from, "Oh yeah, Samurai Jack!" to, "Oh yeah, Samurai Jack?" Just saying, most finales don't have a video game come after with a retcon ending. Now revivals are massive nowadays. Studios hate taking risks. Why would they do that? We want the safe option. But in the animation world, most only take the form of a reboot. There are exceptions to that, of course. Just in the adult animation world, I can think of a few recent ones. Venture Bros got a movie, Aqua Teen, Clone High, and Futurama got new seasons, and X-Men 97 is a slightly more mature refresh of the 90s show. Though X-Men is still going, Clone High just got cancelled on another cliffhanger, and I haven't seen the others, so what can I even say here? You don't want to hear my opinion on these. Though on the opposite end, for the closest revival to an original I can think of, look at Disney for Kim Possible. KP was initially subject to the 65 episode rule, so they decided to wrap it up in a nice bow with the Disney Channel original movie, Kim Possible Sell the Drama. For finale, it's great. They raised the stakes and conclude on a sweet note, but that wasn't enough! See, fans didn't just want to see the main boy and main girl kiss, they wanted them to continuously do that. So, with enough popularity and fan requests, they brought back Kim Possible for one final season and another finale, which I think is worse. Good season, but I think it ends the show on a weaker note overall. But now, since I've been yapping for so long, I think it's time we get into the real deal. The best case scenario overall, these shows will... This is it, the ideal ending. The one shows can only dream of. This is so ugly! Ew! Listen, I hate to pull gasoline on a fire, but if I have to talk about finales, I don't want it to just seem like I like every single one of them, or at worst find them mediocre. I need to talk about the one finale that straight up made me mad, Star vs. the Forces of Evil. Now, the issue with Star's finale goes deeper than the episode itself, which is pretty bad, but it is the direct effect of a series of bad decisions that eventually built up. Forced shipping and drama between a couple is the depths of peanut butter and jelly? Yep. Plot lines that go nowhere and are just there for fluff? Yeah. Full seasons of an inconsistent tone, focus, constantly dropping characters at a moment's notice, all revolved around an allegory the show itself doesn't know how to handle? Yeah. And the animation got worse! So when you throw all those elements into a blender, you get the Star vs. finale cleaved. The conclusion to a 9-part special, a season-long arc, and the entire series that still manages to feel like it has no idea what it is doing. Main characters from the first few episodes only get seconds to shine. The villain is defeated in an anticlimactic way in which they don't have to pay for their actions or have any sort of conclusion. The solution to their problems feels sudden and sort of has genocidal implications. They set up new drama that doesn't matter, and in the end, the entire universe is changed suddenly, and tragically, most of the main cast get separated. But Star and Marco. Starco, the toast and butter, peanut butter and jelly, piss in toilet level ship that the show hinted at from the very beginning, but dragged out until 3 episodes before the finale, just for it to be the only thing they care about satisfying in the end. Listen, screw this. On so many levels, but mainly for one big reason. I used to love this show. Nowadays, I see a lot of people arguing that Star vs. should have stayed episodic to avoid its fate, and in some aspects, I get it. Those first few episodes are fun, energetic, and a blast to watch. However, I think that would undermine some of the great storytelling they managed to have early on, with natural shipping drama that felt like it was building somewhere, slowly unraveling lore that felt deep, and an excellent villain that felt really menacing. The issue is it became clear they didn't have a plan, and the longer the series went on, for every cool moment it had, it felt like there were 2 disappointing ones, until those bad moments overpowered the good ones and broke what we initially had. Nowadays, I can't view the show without immense criticism. All those imperfections hit me like a sword, and now I don't even know if I like it anymore. Star vs. the Forces of Evil set up its own demise. Disney XD didn't often spawn hits, so for a series stuck on that network to hit 4 seasons, what used to be the limit for all Disney Channel shows, they had it lucky. They knew their time, and still couldn't stick the landing. But what about the ones that did? When I think about Disney XD's hits, well, there isn't a lot, but the best of the best has to be Gravity Falls, a show that knew when it was time to wrap it up, leading to the finale, Wheelmageddon, being indicative of that. It's action-packed, it uses the entire cast well, it gets emotional, and ultimately it leaves the series on a sweet, though a bit rushed note. But hey, that's pretty much every finale at this point, right? I know some people are hoping for the next summer so the show can return, and no matter how much that'd be fun, I think the note it currently ends on is perfect. Or what about Amphibia, a world-hopping show similar to Star but one that knew what it was going to accomplish from the beginning and stuck to it. The hardest thing, despite its massive fan service and action-packed elements, is a very definitive ending about change that hits like a truck. The theme had been set up throughout the show though, so the note it ends on isn't forced, it was inevitable. Doesn't mean it didn't destroy me merely watching those credits, dear god. And that promo that says catch the finale? Chills. I don't know why. Every time I think about it, chills. Well, what about regular show? Despite the series having 8 seasons and well over 200 episodes, a regular epic final battle, yes that's the real name, is one of the most emotionally compelling finales possible, tying back into the series' beginnings, being fourth wall breaking, and delivering so much dang emotion. It's a finale so good that for many fans, it saves the season it comes from. For me, it just made the song Heroes something I can't listen to without crying. I'm very emotionally tied to TV, if you couldn't tell, please send help. And even on Nickelodeon, series like Avatar: The Last Airbender have one of the most action-packed, insane finales ever in Sozin's Comet. I watched this years after the fact, and I still know how crazy hyped audiences watching it live must have been. And hell, sometimes even canceled series can end in the exact way they intended. The Ghost and Molly McGee was canned after only 2 seasons, but they convinced Disney to allow them one more episode to end in the way they always intended, was the fittingly titled The End. And now I can officially announce my planned lawsuit against everyone who worked on this one for making me sob so much. It's excellent. It has a brilliantly written message on life itself. But man, did it hit me like a truck, and I might cry just thinking about it right now, so let's move on quickly. Now don't let my over positivity confuse you into thinking every planned out finale immediately makes it fantastic. Not at all, because Netflix decided to go full with finales that are pretty good but have one major annoying element. Centaur World is such a stupid show that gets so dark it becomes fantastic, and the finale is so good at points that it almost saves the lackluster second season. However, it sort of feels like the finale is for another character's show, and towards the end, our leads sort of stop mattering, and that always bugged me a bit. At least let them get one kick in. Similar goes with Arcane, a 7 out of 10 show that almost feels like it stumbles into its 20 out of 10 scenes, and the finale is no exception. Some excellent moments in here that nearly got me to jump out of my seat, but it feels more focused on concluding arcs that didn't matter as much, leaving the plot lines I felt that did matter with endings that are sudden or vague. Sorta has a Centaur World vibe in the way the main lead stopped doing anything towards the end. And I'm probably the only person to ever make that comparison, so yay for me! I get they're setting up spin-offs, but it was already a miracle getting me to watch one series based on League of Legends, and I don't see them doing it again. Then there's Hilda. Absolutely fantastic show, very lovely, but going into season 3, they ran out of books to adapt, and you can feel it. They start giving explanations for things I didn't really care about and didn't need to know, and similar to Ducktales, plot twists that undermine the main story are here, and I feel like it's all a bit too much, especially in its finale. And finally, Kipo. To explain my fascination with this show in a one sentence, it was my moon goal before moon goal. If that makes sense to you, good. And I still think it's fantastic in a lot of ways, but similar to Stall, the latter half of his final season runs into the issue of it handles it a lot better than Stall did, as it continues to be a main focus at all points, but that last outing being only 22 minutes feels like a defeat in some aspects. Haven't rewatched that particular season in years though, so who knows, maybe it's better than I remember. And if there's any other Netflix finales I can talk about, there's Sonic Prime. Okay, never mind, there's been 2 finales that pissed me off, but let's ignore that because I was expecting that, and also because there are so many more examples out there. Kid Cosmic, Phineas and Ferb, She-Ra, and many others that are so excellent and well thought out that they define those shows as classics. Finales are a tricky art. Whether they come from cancellation, a long-awaited revival, or it just being the right time, they all have one primary job: making it okay to let go. TV shows, as they used to stand out really nowadays, are meant to be a continuous comfort in life, growing with audiences over seasons and seasons and years. To cut these characters out of an audience's life takes a lot of justification, but I think when a finale nails it, that pain goes away. Sometimes, leaving a story to rest can only improve its quality, its appeal, its impact. Even if the stories themselves are over, these characters and moments could live for generations, for the audiences who experience them, being tied to moments in life both good and bad as a comfort. And I think the finale is the most important piece in justifying that. To summarize, letting go is scary. It's tricky and at points terrifying. So when a finale does it in a way that's entertaining, emotional, and comforting to the idea, I think that's when these shows seal their true legacy. Or you could be SpongeBob, craft a movie ending, proceed to go on for another 20 years influencing way more lives than it would have initially. And that seems to be impactful too. So in reality, TV is tricky. I don't know how it works, and you should just work with what you got.
Woo! Bravo! Amazing job!
So, are we done here?
Yep.
Really? That's it?
I mean, Yeah, not everything I do has to have some big, extravagant ending. Sometimes the best endings are simple. Sometimes they're just meaningful. Sometimes you're too hungry to think about what that'd be, so let's figure it out later. So, Lucas, I've been thinking about some things said earlier, and, Moon Girls Make It Don't Break It in the cast of the Henry Danger cartoon.
I knew you thought about it.
Just briefly!